What up, what up, what up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of O Tangents, Office Hour Tangents, or OT for short. Getting right to it, today's tangent was not actually spawned in my classroom today. It was spawned on the way to class today. So, on the way to class, I was listening to sports talk radio, and of course, I go through my daily routine of watching ESPN on TV and just listening while I'm coming to work. And there was a big, and not to give it away, but there was a big sports story this morning that had to do with a monstrous dunk. It was crazy. I'm not going to say who it was. If you watch this and you watch it when this was aired or close to it, you'll probably ascertain who it is, but I don't want to say who it is yet. So it got me thinking. So what happened is this dunk spawned a lot of the sports talk. Usually what happens in sports talk radio and sports talk radio station, TV, there's a big story, something happens, and then like everybody kind of talks about the same subject matter, but they all approach it from different angles, right? And the dunk was crazy, but then it starts getting people talking about list and the greatest list and all that good stuff. So one of those angles that they were going off of was one of those tangents that kind of formed from this monstrous dunk was who's going to be the new face of the NBA. Okay? And this is a topic that I've been wanting to broach for a long time, and I didn't know what format, really just with my friends, like barbershop talk. But I've been talking about for a while, but the angles I take are a little different than your average sports fan. But this morning, when I was thinking about it, and the angle I wanted to maybe take, or I was thinking about at the moment, I wanted to, a visual angle, right? So, and just the background on me, as I keep on doing these, I had to realize that a lot of people watching may not know who I am. Like, and you're not going to go research me probably. You're not going to go to brandancraft.com, spell Brandon with an A. And, you're not going to do that, but that's cool. So I'll fill in the blanks as we go. So just a little background on me outside of me being a professor, a design professor. I have a sports background, so I'm not your. I would say that I'm not your average professor, right? I could probably go out on a limb on that one. I'm not your average, academic dude, but I have been teaching for a little over 15 years now. But before that, I consider myself an athlete. I played D1 baseball. In high school, I was just that guy that played everything, just like a lot of you all may be or may not have been. But just to put it in context, I'm just gonna go straight from high school. In high school, I was on the golf team for 2 years. I was on the basketball team for 2 years. I was on the football team for 1 year, but I was the quarterback for that whole year, the starting quarterback. I've been playing baseball. I started playing baseball when I was 6, and I didn't stop until maybe 2 or 3 years after I graduated college. But I did play for 1 year at Alabama A&M University. Shout to the Bulldogs, and 1.5 years at the University of Pittsburgh. But I also played tennis for a couple years while in high school on a summer league team because it's the same season as baseball. I'm a golfer now. I still play golf. I train at a boxing gym. That's my gym of choice where I go to and work out is I box. So I still try to remain as athletic as possible. I believe an object in motion stays in motion, and I have not stopped. So I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I've always been in motion, and I'm just keeping myself in motion. So that being said, that on top of me being a professional designer, on top of now me being a professional professor. So I do know something about sports. I'm not just somebody that never played sports and I'm talking about sports. So that being said, this next phase of the NBA talk, it was like I just kind of like talk amongst myself or with my boys, but I wanted to take a different angle with it, a more design angle. And I wanted to maybe look at like some of the new faces of the NBA, but not showing their face, showing their logos. So I have seen a trend that not nothing that's kind of like sparked up recently, but it kind of started from, and I'm not a historian, so any of the historians watching and they're like, nah, I get it. Just from my perspective, it kind of started in a real popular manner when Jordan came in the league, right? So when Jordan came in the league, he was the first to get his like, really super popular signature shoe. But also what came along with that was the Jumpman brand, right? And everybody knows what that Jumpman logo looks like, right? And it looks nothing like this. And I just saw myself doing this. That nothing like that. But we all know what the Jumpman logo looks like. And I've seen, as we went on, the faces of the league, usually have a logo. And I see the recent trend is more and more of our athletes, not just basketball. I'm going to concentrate on basketball and the NBA today, but are branding themselves. Even though on another tangent, I'll get into branding because that was my thing for a long time. It's still my thing. I'm a visual communication designer crafting brands. Brandan Craft, I craft brands. Like I really leaned into that for a lot of years. So I'm seeing, so you already have a brand. If you're watching this, you have a brand. You just don't know it yet if you think you don't have it. But everybody has a brand. All these professional athletes have brands, but I've seen, I would say more recently, a lot of these professional athletes, whether they're starting or whether they're 11th on the bench, they're kind of taking more control of their brand, right? From how they look, how they talk, what events they show up to, all that good stuff, right? It all kind of adds to kind of how you make money off the court as well as on the court. But I've seen a lot of these athletes now, because of brand, they do come up with their own logos, right? So sometimes their logos are just created themselves and they kind of market it around that. And oftentimes the logos may come from the athletic brand that they are sponsored by. So Nike, Adidas, Reebok, something like that. So it got me thinking, like, who has some of the best logos out there, right? So, so I wanted to see maybe, like, who's going to be the next face of the NBA, but turn it on his head and kind of judge from the logo design. So you don't see the face, you don't see because I always tell people your brand mark it should be you without you being there. Right? Somebody should see your brand mark and it should encapsulate all the important aspects of you without you being present, right? So one example of that is, and which I teach in my intro graphic design class, I go over Barack Obama's logo. Like I feel like he was one of I know he's not the only, but I vividly remember him using branding and social media like more heavily than I've seen before, right? And I remember if you could picture Barack Obama's brand mark, and I'll just show it, right? Because why not? So let me bring it up. But his brand mark, it did a good job of encapsulating all the things that he wanted us to know about him if we didn't know him, which none of us did. Right? So let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Here we go. It's like Jeopardy when you're on these kind of platforms. So I'll just bring it up and let me split screen it. So if you remember this mark, right? And it's more like this one. That's more like it. This one right here, right? So this logo I always thought did a very good job of very simply encapsulating what he wanted to get across with his run for president in '08. And it was a few aspects that I always point out in my classes is the O, of course. He really leaned into his name. That was a point of contention from day one. It was like, who's this dude, Barack Obama? Sounds like Saddam, or it sounds Arabic or something, people were afraid of. So instead of kind of like, hey, he could have just said, hey, I'm going to use my nickname or middle name, whatever it was, Barry, I could have went that route. And somebody could have told him, like, you're never going to win presidency with a name like Barack Obama. But they leaned into it, and they kind of leaned into that O. So you see the O as a part of that logo, right? Then you go deeper, and you see it's a very patriotic looking logo. It's red, white, and blue. That's easy, right? But you remember at the time, a lot of people were questioning his patriotism, especially questioning if he was even from the United States. Because if you're not from the United States, you can't run for president, right? So they were like, boom, he's not from the United States, and his name is Barack Obama. So he's like, no. So if you look at this logo, you never seen or heard the dude, you're like, this dude has to be from the United States. It's red, white, and blue. He has aspects of the flag, at the bottom, the stripes. But then you could see that as like the amber waves of grain from the song America, I believe, right? And then on another level, a deeper level, you see an inner O, right? You see an inner O right here that also mimics a sunrise, which means, so one of his taglines, or one of his whatever you call it for his campaign, was hope, right? Or a new day, right? So it's like, there's a rising of a new day. There can be a black president. All your people that thought there would never be a black president, it might be a new day, right? That sunrise was like that. It might be a new day in America, right? So right in that little simple logo that looks like somebody could have thought of it and did it, and if you don't know anything, 30 minutes. Nah, it probably took months and months, years and years, I don't know. But it goes deep, and it subliminally kind of lets us know what he want us to know about him while he's not there to defend himself. Right? So that's what a brand mark is ultimately supposed to do in most aspects, in my opinion. So, that being said, so it got me thinking about, when I see brand marks, I don't see them like regular people. I kind of see them like at a deeper level. It's kind of a gift and a curse. Sometimes I just wish I can just enjoy design like regular people, like normal people, like Theo from The Cosby Show. But I don't. I see brand marks differently. I always like dissect them, and I look at their color choices and if the corners are round or not, and if I always do the break test. If you could pull that logo off the page and you could drop it, would it break or would it be solid? Like I'd have all these tests for logos, and that can be another tangent because once I get into another class, when I'm more like brand based, print based, maybe I'll get into that. But getting back to the subject at hand, who's the new face of the NBA? And without saying any names, I already said Jordan, right? So I'm gonna start with Jordan. I'm gonna start with the Jordan brand, and as this boots up, we all know this iconic brand mark. And I really don't like using the word logo. I don't say I don't like it, but I prefer to use brand mark because I think it's more descriptive of what it really is, right? I think logos thrown around like, hey, let's get a logo for $3. Nah, brand mark. Let's work on your brand mark and your brand identity system. That's different, okay? So Jordan's brand mark is iconic, right? And he was the face of the NBA. So when I was young, it was like just, I was old enough to really like watch my own shows and get into it. Jordan was the face of the NBA. Like, and before then, it was Magic and Bird, right? In my generation, from when I can remember coming up. And I think, and before that, it was Dr. J, right? So when I started watching, Dr. J was like getting old. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were dominating. I remember because, the first video game I ever got was Lakers versus Celtics. So they were like dominating. They were the first ones them and Dr. J were the first ones I saw that had commercials, right? Then I saw that Bird and Magic had their own shoe, the Converse Weapons, right? So they getting into that branding thing. I really think they ushered it in. And I think Dr. J and Magic kind of ushered it in, and then Jordan just came in and just took over with branding and shoes and endorsements and Gatorade, and it just got kind of crazy. So I think this generation of basketball players, even like I would say last generation and this generation, they just kind of took the ball and ran with it. I don't think anybody has matched Jordan's impact, to be honest, yet. I'm not saying that somebody won't get close. I think LeBron has gotten close. I think Kobe has gotten kind of close. But, it's a lot to be the face of the NBA. The NBA is a very player oriented league. A lot of people follow players and they cheer for players. They buy jerseys with players' names on them, right? They buy the player's shoe. They buy Jordans or they buy LeBrons or they buy Kobe's. If if LeBron goes from Cleveland to Miami, these people are now Miami Heat fans. When LeBron skips and goes to LA, now they're Lakers fans. That happens more so in the NBA. Now, like I said, this is all my opinion and my conjecture. Where, as opposed to other sports like NFL, where it's like more team based. Like you wore the team jersey, and you don't care who gets traded away and traded in. You're always I'm a Bengals fan. Like I'm just gonna be a Bengals fan. I don't care who's there. I might like Patrick Mahomes, but that doesn't make me a Kansas City Chiefs fan, right? So the NBA is a very individual league, so it's fertile ground for each individual player to brand themselves as unique entities. It's like unique little businesses. If you look at players' Instagram accounts nowadays, it's like a model shoot. It's like they take a model shoot. You can tell they have a team following them around, taking pictures and video, and really, really carefully planning what's going to be shown and what's going to be seen and where they're going to go. It's a whole thing because you don't know how long you're going to be in the NBA. I don't know the stats right now, but the average lifespan in the NBA is probably 3 to 5 years, if I could just guess, right? So there's not a lot of time. Even if you play in there 10 years, you basically retiring when you're like 30, right? And then get on with your life. So you got to get it while you can. So these players are starting to brand themselves like the dude they grew up with, Jordan, or like the new crop, LeBron and Kobe, okay? So this is the gold standard. Where am I pointing? This right there. This is the gold standard, right? For branding yourself, the face of the league. So I'm just going to talk about some logos, brand marks from some of the top young players that have the potential to be the next face of the league because, just to be honest, LeBron is getting old. LeBron is old. From NBA standards, he's young compared to any other standards, but he's old and he's not going to stay in the NBA that much longer. So who's going to be the next? Nobody. Who's going to be the next guy that takes the mantle? And I'm going to get to this, but it's like, I think LeBron has been the face of the league for so long. I think since Kobe kind of saw his peak and then dissension and unfortunate passing, LeBron has been the face of the league for a better part of, 15 years. It's been LeBron. Just like Jordan was the face of the league for forever, for a whole generation. So I have seen nobody take the crown from LeBron yet. I really haven't. Another tangent. So I didn't mean to get into sports, but whatever. I'm into sports, but I'm going to tie it back to design. That's what I try to do. So Magic and Bird, they ran the league when they kind of put the league on another level. No doubt. This is well documented. They put the league on another level for individual players to get more money, to get more prestige, all of that, for TV time and all that good stuff. But Jordan came and took the crown from them guys. Those guys were still winning. Jordan was getting beat by them in the playoffs and the finals and stuff. Magic, Bird, Isaiah Thomas and them. They were beating Jordan. People don't ever want to talk about that, to be honest. But they were beating Jordan, But eventually Jordan caught up to them and surpassed them, and they knew it. And everybody knew it. Like, he was Jordan, and he was the new face of the league. He took it. He became the face of the league when they were still in the league, right? He took it. They didn't give it to him. They didn't pass the torch. Jordan came and grabbed the torch from them. Now, While Jordan was the torchbearer, he was a torchbearer all the way up until he retired voluntarily. But him and Kobe intersected. Kobe played in the same league as Jordan. It wasn't that long, but he was still playing. And I feel like Jordan, this is just my opinion. You know, I'm a Jordan fan. I had Jordan posters on the wall. I'm a Jordan fan. Jordan fanatics. But I felt like Jordan gave the crown to Kobe because he retired. He left. Kobe didn't come and take it like, now I'm the new face. It's like Kobe wanted to. You can see from videos. Kobe, let's play one-on-one. I'll do you. I'll win. You know, but Jordan kind of saw it. I mean, I don't see this is the reason, but Jordan, like, you know, Jordan gave the crown to Kobe, which is cool. You know, he can't help that. And then Kobe took it and ran with it and elevated it, right? He became the face of the league. And I think he shared it with a couple people, but he was really the face. But I think he shared it during the time with like Shaq. And really Shaq was like a big face in the league at the time. I'm not trying to get into history right now. But when LeBron came, you know, LeBron came while Kobe was the face of the league. And I felt like when LeBron came, it didn't take him long to take the crown of face of the league from Kobe. LeBron came and took the crown, just like Jordan came and took the crown from Magic and Bird, right? So now we're at, you know, LeBron been the face of the league for a while now. And he really hasn't shared it. And I felt like there's been a few people that's had the opportunity to, and I want to throw Allen Iverson in there too. I do want to throw Allen Iverson in there. During that Kobe era, to be honest, as far as impact, like cultural impact, I think Allen Iverson had a bigger cultural impact on the current NBA than Kobe did. Kobe with the work ethic and all that good stuff, but Iverson with the style. He had a rap album. He was the best rapping NBA player forever until Dame Lillard came along, in my opinion. The tattoos, the cornrows, the sneakers, the hip hop culture, it was AI, right? But Kobe was more, and this is just my conjecture, it was more clean cut. He spoke multiple languages. He was just better for the league visually. And it's, you know, if it was my choice, yeah, go with Kobe. If I was the NBA, I'm pushing Kobe. I'm not necessarily pushing AI. AI was just doing his thing. And he was popular just from being himself. Kobe was pushed more to the forefront. He played in LA. You know, he had a strong family structure. Like, they just kind of pushed Kobe. But LeBron came and took that crown, in my opinion, of face of the NBA. Like, he really did. So now we're saying, like, who's going to be the next face? And a few people tried. I think Steph Curry had a chance to take it. I think, like, it's too late. I don't want to say it's too late, but he tried to take it, but I don't think he just never reached the point where he was like the face. He got to the point where he was sharing the crown of face of the NBA with LeBron, but I don't think he ever took that, right? I think LeBron, he might have took it for a year or two, and then LeBron took it back. It was one of those things. So, come on, screen, there we go. So he took it back. I think Durant had a chance. I think Durant, from hearing what he's talking about now, it feels like, yo, y'all should tell me I should be the face. I'm the great. I don't even think he wanted to be the face of the league, to be honest. But he could have, if he would have wanted to do it, I think Durant had the chance to do it. But that's just not his personality, right? In my opinion, his game, no doubt, but he kind of never played in that market. The fact that LeBron became the face of the league while playing in Cleveland is a testament to his greatness. You know, a small market. That's why I think, you know, some other players could take it, not playing in LA or New York or Boston or something like that. And those two, they had a chance to take it, but they just never I don't think they could. Now and then, so I'm gonna present some of the young guns and see, but I want to just look at their logos. And I might talk about them a little yet, but I'm not gonna say their names at first. I want to like talk about their brand marks from a design perspective. And then I'm a judge. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to say who's the best or the worst. I might. But I'm a judge to see, like, what the public may jump to if they just saw logos, or they just saw the brand mark. Going off of what I said earlier, is that a brand mark should encompass all that you stand for when you're not there to defend yourself. Okay? So, as we said, the Jordan brand. This is a great logo. I don't want to say from a design perspective, this is a great logo. Like if a student designed this, I'd be like, because to me it wouldn't pass the drop test. I had this test. It's not my test. I found it somewhere. I remember I read it somewhere someday. But it's like, what if I could take that logo off the screen or off the page and then dropped it? And I always picture it like it's a paperweight, like it's that heavy, like it's that dense. And you take it and you hold it high and you just drop it. And what will happen? And I feel like this logo, like the Nike logo, like there's always exceptions, right? The Nike logo would shatter because it looks fast, right? It has to look fast. This logo would shatter. It would break. It would break in at least 4 or 5 pieces, right? Because it's a lot of like hanging objects. A lot of times when teaching brand design, you guard against that. You don't want like weak looking elements on the outskirts of the mark because they look. It comes across as weak, and then that the footprint it leaves, it just gets bigger, right? So anyway, this is not brand design class, but from a culture standpoint, it's a great logo. It just became a great logo because he was so great, and it was so literal. It was like Air Jordan. Like when he first came out, he was Air Jordan. It wasn't Michael Jordan. It was like when Nike took over, it was Air Jordan. They marketed him as Air Jordan, and the shoes were Air Jordans. So this logo is straight up Air Jordan. It's Jordan Duncan. It's not abstract. It's not like the Obama logo trying to get across. It's no like Jordan flies. That's all. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything else. He's a great basketball player. That's it. And that's kind of how he rode his career all the way up to now. I play great basketball. I really don't participate in too much else. I play basketball good. Watch me play basketball, and that's it. That's what this logo does, right? Now, Kobe's logo. This is his second logo. Trivia. It's hard to find, but he had a logo for Adidas. So Kobe was with Adidas for a little short stint before he got with Nike. So he had that little issue in Colorado. Adidas dropped him, and Nike picked him up when he got his image back in order. And his Adidas logo was actually more like the Jordan logo. I should have it, but just look it up. It's hard to find though. Adidas logo, and it was a silhouette. I'm doing it like it was a silhouette of his head when he had an afro. And I remember when that logo came out. I remember vividly, and this is before I was even into design and branding and all this stuff. I remember thinking like, that's not a good logo because he's not going to always have that fro. And I could tell by his receding hairline, he's not going to have that hair too much longer. So what's this logo going to do when he loses his hair or he decides to cut it off? So the silhouette was just him and his hair, right? And it was just like, it was an odd choice for a logo, and I thought it was rather whack at the time. So this is what his logo became. It's very abstract, and you can read a lot of things in it. Maybe you see some K's in there. I don't know, but it was like the Mamba mentality. I don't know, but it's very abstract, but it's very strong, and I think it does represent Kobe well. If you see this, it just looks like a strong logo. It looks like something otherworldly. It reminds me of, I'm watching the TV show on Apple Plus right now, Foundation. Great show. But it reminds me of the Foundation little edifice that they had anyway. But and Kobe was a deep dude. That's what this logo comes across to me as. This is deep. It's probably a lot of different things how you can there's probably a lot of hidden meanings in here and stuff like that. But it's a strong logo, and it matches, it passes the drop test if assuming that the little pieces are fused, in the black areas. And I kept all these logos. I made them all white on black, so it's not a color decision. It's not like that's a better color than that one, right? And then LeBron took over, right? So the LBJ, he's had a couple logos. This is the one he kind of has been the ongoing logo, and he leans into the L and the J being, opposites, and the crown. He leans into the king, King James, right? More of a horizontal logo, low to the ground, strong, very strong. This looks like a very heavy logo that would pass the drop test. And he's just saying I'm the king. He's being very literal about it, right? So who's going to be the new face? And I'm going to do it from a logo standpoint. Now, I'm not going to say who these people are, but the sports fans will know, but a lot of you won't, to be honest. And a lot of these logos aren't pumped up a lot because a lot of these guys are signed to shoe deals. And I'm sure in these contracts, they probably have something about how, Nike, Adidas, or whatever can't control their branding or their likeness or stuff like that. I really believe that. I don't know that because I don't know. I've never been an NBA player. But from what I've seen, how logos kind of change depending on what entity you're with, I bet you there's terms and conditions in the contract that says so much, right? So this logo, I'm just going to talk about it. It reminds me of a Christmas tree. And, it's not a bad thing. It looks like a cool logo, but it reminds me of I would think Diamondbacks. But it does look strong and it looks very dynamic, right? It looks strong and dynamic, which is what an NBA player would like to be known as. And it doesn't have a crazy footprint. It's easy to put everywhere, and the strength of it really is intriguing to me. But it does come across as like Arizona Diamondbacks because, a snake, I don't know if it has diamonds on the back, but I'm assuming that's why it's called a Diamondback because it looks like it has a diamond pattern on the back, right? It reminds me of the Arizona Diamondback logo also. But, a strong logo. I think it's a strong logo. Here goes one. A lot of these are type based, so it kind of gives it away. But this is one. This is a guy that's in contention. He's run out of time though. I think he's running out of time. But I think this is a dynamic logo because, again, these two they use this kind of like pyramid scheme, even though it may be a letter. But they use that pyramid scheme because that pyramid shape, that triangle shape, that's a very strong shape, right? Because the base is way bigger than the tip. So we just know that would just sit and be strong, right? So it comes across as strong. Now, this one, since it has the little cutout on that left side, it does look like it has the propensity to tip over. But maybe that adds to the agility of it, though. It looks agile. It looks like an agile logo, even though it's strong. Like it can move. It's not set into place. It can move. So like a strong, agile guy maybe be behind. And I don't know these companies that make these logos, or if they have a cousin or they did it themselves, whatever. I don't know. But hopefully, if it's a company, they're kind of like thinking about all this stuff when they're creating brand marks for people. There was a time when I was thinking I would love to work with athletes in their brands. I think that would be dope since I have the athletic sensibilities and I'm a designer. I was like, that would be a match made in heaven. That's actually what my thesis was kind of about, to be honest. If you want to look at my thesis, it's out there. If you just look it up, I don't know. But had to do with professional athletes and branding. And then you can see there's some logo types in there, almost like graffiti. You want to decipher it. Right, you want to try to understand it, and if I kind of know what it is, but I'm not going to give it away. But you can decipher there's 2 letters in there, and it's kind of and it uses the white space well. It's always good to use the white space, the empty areas between the actual positive spaces. The positive shapes. All right, this one is another, as you could tell, another pyramid triangle kind of base for the brand mark. And I can from the jump I can see that there's they're using the logo type, they're using the type, the shape of the letters for it. And this reminds me of a rocket. It reminds me, compared to these two, these look strong. This one looks a little more agile, but still just strong. There's just strength. This one looks like it's about to take off. It looks like it's about to take off at any moment. And a jet. You know, I kind of see flight. I see it's not meant to be on the ground. I just see that from the evidence from the base. The base is not just straight, right? It's arched, like almost like it's ready. It's like it's bent and ready to like explode up, right? That little kind of like boomerang shape at the bottom could straighten out and then and lift off. That's what I'm getting from this logo. So this one, I would say compared to these two, if I was choosing teams, maybe I should have did like this. Where would be my starting five? Ooh. So I think it's about 8 of these. So maybe I'll go that direction. Who would be my starting five? There'll be 3 on the bench. So far I've seen 3. This one's starting, no doubt. And we'll see about these. Out of these two, I'll say these, we'll see. Next one. As far as face of the league, meaning, universally recognized, meaning people are going to buy shoes and buy gear and just go to the game just to see you. See, that's what the face of the league does. It's like the show travels with you. If you go to Cleveland, it's sold out. If you go to Houston, it's sold out. If you go to New York, it's sold out. Wherever you go, it's sold out because you're a star. Like, you're the face. Like, wherever LeBron goes, it's going to be people just to go see LeBron, right? There was people to just go see Kobe. It was people to... I just tuned in. Like, if Jordan wasn't playing, I didn't watch, right? So this logo, just judging on the logo, is like, it's funny. I don't associate humor with being the face of the league, though. I don't associate humor with being serious. Even though we know everybody that plays in the NBA is pretty serious because there's only like little less than 500 people in the league at a time. And an interesting stat, if you didn't know, there's only been about 2,000 NBA players ever. Tell that stat to some of the kids that, all they say is they want to be NBA players when they grow up. Bro. Only 2,000 NBA players ever since the NBA. Like, there's some high schools that have more people than that. Okay, so anyway, getting back to the subject, it's so literal. Like the Jordan logo was literally like him flying. This logo is literally saying like, "Yo, it's a gesture. It's a gesture type of thing, and gestures are funny. Gestures are jokesters." And incorporates the number, and I say the number is like, okay, you're gonna have that number forever, I guess. And this doesn't come across as serious. It just doesn't come off as serious. And I think to be a face of the NBA, I just think you have to be somewhat serious, right? But I may be proven wrong because I'm sure this player is great, right? Because he wouldn't be on this list if he wasn't. I really dig this logo, just from a it's very dynamic. It's a very dynamic, symmetrical logo. You could flip it around; it's still gonna look good. Only thing I do get off of it that's may not be purposeful is it kind of looks like the recycling. It looks like the recycle logo, and just from these little kind of like edges, it just resembles like the recycle, kind of how each piece is put together. But I see a lightning bolt. Not sure if that's what they want to see, but I do see a lightning bolt. If there's some logo type or some letter forms in there, I could kind of see some. But I kind of know who this is, but I'm trying to force it. I see one letter. I'm trying to force maybe 2, but I do see the dynamic nature. Only thing I don't like, well, I don't say I don't like. It's not that I don't like it, but it's kind of like sitting. Its base is weak, right? It looks like with a little tip. Like if I could just nudge it, that thing would tip over. It wouldn't take a much to tip it over. So it doesn't look as strong as these logos. Like these logos look strong. Like they're not going to tip over, right? This one, it will tip over, but that makes it look agile, right? It makes it look like it can pivot. Like maybe this is meant to spin or something like that. But I do see the lightning and spinning. It looks agile. This is a very dynamic mark. And I'll get to the starting five at the end. And this one is interesting in that, okay, it's like graffiti where I gotta look at it hard and decipher what's going on. I just feel like it's a lot going on. And from a shape standpoint, I've never been a fan of logos that have a kind of like a angle at the bottom, because it's kind of like it has to be floating, because that wouldn't, with gravity, knowing what gravity is, that wouldn't work. It would tip to one side or the other, right? And it would tumble. But again, when you have logos like that, they look agile because it's like they have to I always look at it almost like a person. Like if you were standing on one leg or your tippy toes, you would always be active. In order to keep up on that one leg, your core would have to be active. Your calf muscles, everything would have to kind of be active in your balance to keep up on one leg. Whereas on two legs, you can chill and you could be strong. But here it's like, hey, I'm always moving. This logo is always moving. Caveat to, the Nike logo, going back to the Nike logo, when I teach it in the class about that logo, that Nike logo, swoosh, the only way it would stay, I'm making a terrible go of it, of trying to make the Nike logo out of my fingers, but think of the Nike logo on your head. The Nike logo always, it must be moving. It always looks like it's moving real fast, because that's the only way the Nike logo could appear like it does if it was, an actual tangible thing, right? If it stopped, the Nike logo would tip on that long part on its tail. In order to stay up, it has to keep moving. And it looks like it's moving fast. And the sharp edges, that's another thing, a lot of branding classes teach you to kind of maybe avoid, is like sharp edges that can break and that look dangerous. But those sharp edges add to that speed aspect of Nike. And I see that with this logo a little bit, just from the shape, right? It could spin, it could do a lot of, but it has to always be moving or it's going to tip over. Like it's just going to tip over. So, and I do see, letter forms in there, and, I see a lot going on. It's kind of like the old Verizon logo, which was, it had that check mark, and I'm wondering, I see a check mark, kind of like, you starts here and goes, well, that's terrible, right? But I don't know if that's supposed to be a check mark. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I think that may be taking it too far. I would like to see the mark without that, and I think it'll work too. I don't think, but it may be important to the player, whatever. But it's just a lot going on. Like you want your logo, you want brand marks to be simple, and this one is less simple. This logo right here is, totally lends into logo type to the letter form, and it's a JT, so we kind of knew who that is. So, which is cool, which is, you lean into your name. Your name's never going to change, and I like the fact that it is strong because it has a strong base, but the fact that it's italicized, meaning that angle it takes, is meaning it looks like it's always in motion, and it's simple. And it's like one line too, if you notice. It kind of just one line that goes and it ends kind of like in a pie. First thing I saw was a pie, like the mathematical symbol for pi. I don't know if they were going for that. I doubt it. But maybe they were. And I don't know what the significance would be with adding a pie to it, but it does look like it's in motion, almost like the Nike logo always looks like it's in motion. This one looks like it's in motion. It looks fast. It's fast breaking. It's dynamic. It's strong, and it's fast. I don't mind this logo at all. Another one that's leaning into the typeface, and this is, out of the ones we've seen, this I think is the most unique, in that it's just kind of come across as graffiti. I could see this tag on a New York train back in the day, right? And it looks quick. It looks dynamic, but from a logo standpoint, it doesn't look that much like a logo. You couldn't put this on a lot of stuff. The vertical nature of it kind of It prevents it from being put anywhere. It just takes up a weird footprint. It just takes up a weird the vertical nature. If you want to put anything next to it, it's just going to tower over it, or you're going to have to make it too small to fit. I can see it on apparel. It would be dope on apparel, but from a it looks. I say it looks strong from the weight of the letter forms. It looks dynamic. The vertical nature just makes it look dynamic. It just looks different. And if you knew who this guy is, it kind of fits because this is a different dude, and I've never seen anything like this dude playing basketball, to be quite honest. And this mark kind of leans into that. Now, I think if he gains popularity, I think if he was asking me, I would say, or his handlers or however they want to be, I would say, you probably want to get a more apt brand mark to work with going forward. Because I think, and again, a disclaimer, I'm not sure if any of these logos, I'm not sure if they're official logos or not. These are just the ones I kind of saw on the internet. You don't see it a lot because it's not like searching for the Nike logo, the Adidas logo. There's billions of, if I search for these specific players' logos, it's like maybe the first couple lines, in Google Images, but then it's not. Like, they're not pushing it. So I kind of had to seek and find some of these marks, right? And this came across as a mark that may be unofficial, but it's one of them he's using. It's on apparel, and it's on a couple shoes, right? But I see this one appealing to the young fans of the NBA, which is who's going to decide maybe who's the face, right? So here are them, here, what's I to say? Here they are all on one page. And looking at them, other than, the one I went over last, they're similar, right? They're brand marks, except that one and then maybe the Jester one. They're I don't want to say typical brand marks, but they look corporate. They look like corporate brand marks, right? This one right here could easily be for a company called, Seismic Activity or something like that with the S. This one could be, like I said, Arizona Diamondbacks. It could be, something advertising, pine tree sales or something like that. These can be marks for any corporation, and that's how some of these players are promoting themselves. Like, they're little corporations, they're businesses, right? What did Jay-Z say? He's a businessman, right? And I think a lot of these players have taken that to heart. And the first thing they do a lot of times is, I need a logo. Because when you get a logo or a brand mark for yourself, it kind of helps you separate yourself from your business, whatever that may be. So yourself from being a real estate agent, yourself from being a designer, yourself from being a trainer. It kind of helps you have two personas, right? That's what a brand mark a lot of times does for an individual, okay? So, looking at it now, say my starting five would be for a team before I get into who could be the face of the league just based solely on the brand mark. I would definitely have the one, I'll point at them before I say the names. This one in the corner, the left corner, the JT one. And I apologize for people that may just be listening to audio, but tangents, I'd say this is gonna be a visual. It's gonna be a visual platform. I just like using visuals. I would say this one definitely, the one in the middle, the one that looks like a rocket ship. The pyramid that's kind of dynamic with the cutout the left. I'm gonna take the one that looks like graffiti because it's just unique. And it just stands out because it just stands out. It looks the most different out of all of these. And then one more, I would say, just from brand mark alone, I would say this one. The one that kind of looks like a lightning bolt in recycling brand mark. Those would be my starting five. Now, as far as the face of the league, I would go with, and it's like saying what's the best one. I'm not really judging on that. I'm like, the face of the league, I think it should exude strength and agility and seriousness. I just really think like Jordan was strong, agile, and serious. Kobe was strong, agile, and serious. LeBron is strong, agile, and serious. And the mark that comes across as strong, agile, and serious to me, the most strong, agile, and serious is uh, I'm gonna have to say, whoo, this is tough. This is tough. Strong, agile, and serious. And would appeal to the new crop of NBA fans. I'm gonna add that because I'm aging out. I'm gonna go with the one in the middle, the one that looks like a rocket ship. It almost resembles Kobe's logo, just upside down. It's just dynamic. It looks almost graffiti-ish because it looks like somebody actually drew it with a pencil. It doesn't really look like a corporate logo. It doesn't look corporate. It looks more, just more like, man, I can't find the words. It just looks like it's about to take off. That's all I can see in it. It's about to take off. And I think for a face of the league, it's like, who's about to take off? Because I remember Jordan in the league, he came in the league and took off, right? LeBron came in the league definitely and took off. Kobe, it took him a minute, but then once he took off, right? So some of these guys, so I'm going to say the names. So according to these logos, I would have picked Ja Morant. That's the logo I picked. It just looks like a rocket ship about to take off. It uses the J, and I'm assuming it's trying to be the M on that right side, but it's kind of like weird. I'm not a fan of that, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but in a brand mark, you don't have to say, I don't see an M in there. I don't see everything. It just has to, like, you know, feel a certain way. I think brand marks are more of a feel type of thing. And now if I had a runner up, it would be the one next to it. It would be I believe this one is Luka Doncic's brand mark. It just looks like a lightning bolt, and it looks dynamic, and it looks like it just can do anything. It can spin, it can go anywhere, and it's still strong enough to stand up straight, but it could get pushed over. But I think it looks strong, agile, and serious also. But it just does look corporate. So the one I chose, Ja Morant. The one next to it, this is Luka Doncic. This is, and all these guys are like one name dudes too already. So you had Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, and this one is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai, I think he's getting to the point where people just call him Shai, or I think they say ASG. I forgot. But Shai. Then the next to that is the Joker. Nikola Jokic. I'm messing up these names terribly. But that's the one that looks like a court gesture. And I just think it kind of probably fits his personality. And I don't think he wants to be the face of anything, to be quite honest, especially the NBA. He might want to be the face of something else, but he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA, I could tell. So it's no big deal. The next to that is Giannis. And that mark is dynamic. Giannis, this is the one I was talking about that I think he's run out of the time to be the face of the league, but he can still do it. Like, he's still young. Like, it seemed like he's been in the league longer than his age may give, but he hasn't stopped, and he's dynamic, and he's funny, and all this good stuff. But, we'll see. I think he needs to win another. He needs to win like 2 or 3 more to like take that mantle, in my opinion. But the mark is dynamic. The mark fits good on shoes. It's strong. The one down here, this is Zion, the one that looks like graffiti. Zion's logo, I don't think he's kind of leaned to his brand yet, but maybe that day will come. But this logo is just different, and it kind of fits him. Like, there's never been anyone in the league like Zion. It's almost like Wemby. Oh, and okay, let me get through this. I haven't mentioned Wemby. I know people are like, what you mean Wemby? A lot of people say he's going to be the next face, but it's hard for me to think he's going to be the next face. He's only been in the league for a half a year, and it's just like, let's wait a little bit. before we. I don't know who's gonna buy Wemby shoes. Like nobody really bought Shaq shoes. Nobody bought Ewing shoes. Well, hip hop bought Ewing shoes, but I didn't see a lot of people wearing Ewings to hoop in, to be honest. Big men have trouble selling shoes, and I think that's a big deal when trying to be the face of the league. I just do. Ja Morant, Luka, and that's where I say the Luka, the L. I see the L, but then I don't know if they're trying to make this a D or there's a D in there. I might be not seeing it, and people screaming at the screen like, it's right there, almost like the FedEx arrow or something like that. But I just see the L's. But I see two L's, and you can kind of rotate it anyway, and you'll see L's. JT is Jason Tatum. You know, of course, he leans into just being literal with it, but I like the motion and the strength of that, and that's kind of like his game. Like he will, if you don't stop the ball, he's going to dunk on somebody, right? So you better stop that momentum. The one next to that is Ant-Man. And that's what prompted me to have this discussion in the first place, because his dunk over Collins, a lot of mercy. It was crazy. Like, it was almost, I felt bad for Collins because he had to go out the game. He had a concussion. Like, this dunk was crazy. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Like, this dunk was crazy. And it made me think. And it made me, so before all of this, just judging around, I was like, man, Ja Morant has the best chance of being the face of the league because he's dynamic. His personality is crazy. He reminded me of Allen Iverson almost. And I think the league is ready for an Allen Iverson type player to be the face of the league. Back then, they weren't. And they had Kobe. It was like Kobe, not Iverson. But now it's like, I think it's everybody's up in the air. There is nobody. It's like, who wants to take the reins? And I think Ja Morant came in the league trying to take the crown from LeBron. Like, he came in aggressively trying to take that thing. But I think Ant-Man is... Ja Morant is missing his opportunity with, you know, his transgressions and him getting hurt. If you're out, it's hard to compete. And Ant-Man is taking over that momentum of, I am coming to take the crown from LeBron. LeBron, you getting old, you still the face, but I'm trying by the end of this year to be the face. Like, he's really trying. He seems like he's really doing it. And he's very LeBron-like. He's a freight train. He goes. I'm just not a big fan of that, Mark. I'm sure it would change. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. I see the A. I don't know what the kind of like the pattern is meant for, but you know. But as far as game, Anthony Edwards, I think it's in between Ant-Man, Ja, when he comes back and he can get his head right, and I just think it's between them two, to be honest, to be quite honest. I mean, I just don't see it with Wemby. I just don't see him being the face. I think he's going to be like, he's a great big man, one of the greatest big men. But it's just like when I see him dunk, like he's dunking on a little tight hoop, and he's not jumping, and he kind of lets go of the rim, and he doesn't land. I think all of that stuff matters. Like when you jump, like when Ant-Man dunked on Collins, he had to land. And all that time, you're kind of scared. When Jordan dunked, he had to land. He was so high, and it was like amazing just to see him land. It kind of got across how high he was, how dynamic he is. Wemby, and people can identify with them. They can identify with Jordan because he wasn't 7 foot tall. Less so with LeBron, but LeBron has so much personality, and his game was so dope. They can identify with Kobe a little bit, right? But not really. But Ja, I think a lot of people can identify with him, just like they identify with Allen Iverson. And Ant-Man, I think people can identify. He's 6'4". You know, he just jumps out the gym at 6'4". And, you know, there's more people 6'4", 6'3" than there are 7 foot, 7'5". I just think he's going to, I mean, Wemby's going to, not like, you know, he played for the Rockets, Yao Ming. You know, he was popular. He was running the world, but, you know, nobody's buying Yao Ming shoes. Nobody's buying size 23 Yao Ming shoes. And I just think, I hope for the best for Wemby. And he doesn't have a mark yet. He doesn't have a logo yet, so I couldn't put him in this competition, but he'll get one soon. And hopefully maybe Louis Vuitton will make it. And, you know, for the hood, they'll love that. You know, a designer NBA player, they'll jump on that. They should lean in that. So I'm trying to keep this under an hour. So that was my tangent for the day. And I hope you had a okay time listening to it. And if you have your own thoughts about the brand marks, about who's going to be the new face and all that good stuff, put it in the comment section. Subscribe, whether you're listening to it on Spotify, whether you're listening to or watching it on, and you can watch and listen on Spotify. That's what's dope about Spotify. Or you're watching it on YouTube. Subscribe. You can't really subscribe to Office Hour Tangents, but you can subscribe to my page, Brandan Craft. So whatever, just stay tuned. Hope to be dropping some more of these this week. Until next time, peace out.